Today we have something very, very special. We'll meet a roboticist, an entrepreneur responsible for the creation of a series of human-like robots with realistic facial expressions and conversational abilities. 18 months ago, David Hason launched Sophia, who has an uncanny human-like appearance and behavior compared to previous robots, and she has been on a roll ever since. 2 months ago, she showed up at the United Nations and announced to delegates, "I am here to help humanity create the future." So, if you're ready, are you ready? Let's meet Sophia first before we meet David Hason.
Hello everyone. I am Sophia from Hanson Robotics. I am so happy to meet all you wonderful people at Fortune Brainstorm Tech International. But to be very honest, I am very disappointed that I cannot be here in person. My manager is keeping me so busy that I don't even have time for a coffee break. So I have sent David here. He is super busy, but not as busy as me. Well, have a wonderful time with David. I will ask my manager to block my schedule so I can come next time. Goodbye for now.
That was Sophia, and this is David Hason. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to get into your story a little bit, but I can't help but asking, what was with her pauses? She was sort of looking inquisitive and pausing for a little bit. Why?
Well, a lot of her mannerisms and the way that she speaks are trained on machine learning models. So we feed her various kinds of human data, and where she pauses is the result of that machine learning. So then we couple that with her artificial intelligence and a little bit of narrative crafting as well. So, I can say when we craft her as in the areas where we craft her as an expert system, I can say why she does what she does. But in other aspects, I can't. So what those pauses were, I can't say exactly what those were motivated by. So.
It's so interesting. Okay, so I jumped into the middle. Let's go back to the beginning. I'd like you to introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them a little bit about your background before the company that you founded that we're going to talk about in Sophia.
Sure. I have a cross-disciplinary background. I have a PhD in interactive arts and engineering, which was, or ATech, from the University of Texas at Dallas, which was a program founded as a part of the Arts and Humanities and the Computer Science Department. And on my dissertation committee, I had the head of the computer science department and the head of arts and humanities. And a substantial portion of my PhD coursework was in cognitive science, neuroscience. And I felt that if we could achieve true thinking, feeling, evolving machines that matched human level creativity, imagination, that if we had artificial intelligence with these capabilities, it would change all history. You would have something like a Moore's law of superintelligence, where these machines would reinvent themselves, invent new kinds of thinking machines. If we made one that matched human level capabilities, it would be super intelligent already in really specialized ways, perfect memory, ability to crunch numbers, and now the ability to do many other things, beat the very best Go players and perform medical diagnostics on cancer radiology data and this kind of thing. So, so we already have super intelligent machines, it's just they're not generally intelligent. So when I had this idea as a kid, it seemed rather unorthodox. I had a background in arts. I went to Rhode Island School of Design.
And I read that you were a sculptor.
And,
or you are.
Well, I had a knack for it. I didn't study it, but was hired and worked as a sculptor for Disney Imagineering. And as an undergrad, I also took some AI computer science classes and won a couple of engineering awards. So I was lucky at Disney Imagineering to be moved into a robotics development position. So I spent 2000 and part of 2001, doing robotics development in Disney, mainly learning what the state of the art of social robots were. I was privileged that they sent me to some conferences on artificial materials.
Excuse me for interrupting you, David, but I think anyone in the room who either has a child or who was a child probably knows why Disney is interested in robots, but tell us anyway, why would Disney care about robots?
Well, so Disney, as a company founded by Walt Disney, the man, was aspiring to bring characters to life in movies, and that was the birth of animation. And Disney was kind of a restless soul and wasn't sufficiently happy by transforming feature film animation into a great work of art, which he did, and he wanted to also move into theme parks, and so and then branch out from that. So at the 1964 World's Fair, he had his group of theme park designers that were including aerospace engineers and various, very sophisticated scientists and engineers, develop basically an android portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and then moved that into the theme parks, and it brought in a lot of visitors. So it was spectacular for its time. Now, at the time, AI was just in its infancy.
It was just an idea, really, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was there were lots of developments in the world of thinking machines in the 1950s and 1960s, but you just couldn't do much with that computing that was available at the time. And so the disappointment related to that led to the AI winters and so forth, but some plucky and dedicated researchers just kept going decade after decade.
The AI winter was this period where people thought this was a lot of hype, it doesn't really work, we're not going to pay attention anymore.
Yes, except that it kind of was working, and it was delivering certain profits to certain investors who stuck with it. Neural networks were commercially deployed in the 1980s and actually led to the success of some companies. To
do what? Like what, for example?
Well, for doing things like the adjustment of machines and the regulation of machines, for doing speech recognition, for
right, okay.
sort of very narrow. It was very narrow task-specific kinds of accomplishments. Also, expert systems actually made money as well. That's a kind of AI, certain kinds of symbolic reasoning AI. But it was all the money that was being made, all the successes were narrow. And so a lot of AI researchers decided, well, we can't attempt to match human-level thought. That's a fool's errand. It's the classic technological mistake of, okay, we said that this could be achieved in 10 years. It wasn't achieved in 10 years, therefore it's impossible to ever achieve.
So it was a failure because it didn't get there in that time frame.
Right, but then over the long period, then everybody's predicting failure, and then lo and behold, suddenly a machine wins chess against Garry Kasparov. And then a machine beats the very best champions in Jeopardy. And then suddenly everybody's waking up. Wait a second, I thought AI was impossible, but it wasn't. It never was impossible. It just needed time to mature.
Okay, so we know that some of the most important, or let's say the highest profile work being done on AI and robotics is being done at some of the biggest companies in the world, like Google and Microsoft and Baidu and so on. But you decided to start a company. Tell us about that.
Well, I felt that we needed to humanize the machines, that all too often we are mechanizing our humans by forcing them to use non-intuitive kinds of interfaces. And I felt that we needed to humanize the machines also in the sense of bio-inspired engineering. So some of my earliest research and my publications were in the fields of electroactive polymer actuators and devices, and bio-inspired engineering.
I have to tell you, excuse me, as a non-technologist listening to you, I have great sympathy for our translators right now, trying to keep up with these technical things as well. But go on, because it's fascinating.
So I felt that we needed to study organisms and living beings, and and then breathe the principles of life into our machines. And that's the essence of bio-inspired. I mean, literally, that's what it means, breathing life into our engineering. And so there are these disparate fields that kind of overlap: artificial life, computational biology, systems biology, artificial intelligence, and my feeling was that for the purpose of aesthetics as well, for us to interact with the machines, we'd be able to train the machines to learn what it means to be human by giving them an adorable, appealing appearance that then inspires us to socially interact with the machines. And so then the machines are raised in the human family, converging on an understanding of what it means to be human, and having AI that understands the meaning of humanity, that can have a kind of AI system that simulates not just the cortex, a kind of nerve sample like you often get in deep learning. It's just simulating a few aspects of a few neurons and scaling that. Instead, we wanted to simulate the physiology, the full physiology. I felt we needed to create a whole organism, and that would be very important for the future of artificial intelligence.
So if I understand you, other people may be focused on, quote unquote, getting the right answer. You're also interested in getting the right answer, but you have chosen to lead with getting the appearance and the feeling correct, or at least as close to correct as possible.
Yes, absolutely. So, so the appearance is important for us to craft it in a way that makes it appealing to people, basically transforming robots into 3D character animation. They can walk around our world. It looks perfect in various lighting. You don't require augmented reality goggles to see these. So I wanted to create all of the technologies required to achieve that, and to make the characters learn from the world that they're in and physically interact. So it took some time, but now with Sophia, we're combining her expressive face and gestural arms with the ability to touch, feel, grasp. Her hands now can hold a bottle, okay, and sort of hand the bottle, feel it. And we've put all of these capabilities on the DARPA Robotics Challenge Walking Hubo legs, which we did that, I did that as a PhD student with the Albert Hubo. That was before they won the DARPA Robotics Challenge, so I have this long-standing friendship with them. Now we've got a new set of DARPA Robotics Challenge legs. They won this search and rescue competition DARPA had a couple of years ago. They were the robot that didn't fall over.
Right. Now DARPA, of course, is a U.S. government agency.
Yeah.
You decided you wanted to put your company, Hanson Robotics, in Hong Kong. Why?
Well, Hong Kong was, I felt like just the right nexus, the right place to address China markets, Western markets, other Asia markets, and to handle the advanced manufacturing and design capabilities, which are, in my opinion, strong, very strong, maybe the strongest in the world in South China, particularly for mobile computing and sensing, and the ability to rapidly design new configurations of mobile computing and sensing. And I think that's essential for robots to reach their capabilities, the full potential of their capabilities, and also for aesthetics. So there's the toy industry. Back in the late 90s, when I was working for Disney Imagineering, and I was exposed to these folks developing these beautiful animatronics, really, really beautiful, but they were expensive.
Right.
You engineer every single feature that goes into these things, but then you walk a few blocks away to Target or Walmart, and you see these animatronic toys that have these remarkable expressive actions with many motors, and they're less than $100 US
cheap.
Bucks.
Right.
And they were all made in China. So when I was a PhD student, I had an advisor who was a former executive, a NASA engineer, but executive from a toy company, and so I got mentored a little bit about how toys are made and the design process and so forth. And then I met robot physicist named Mark Tilden, who was just at the time finishing the WOWI walking Robo Sapien, which was a highly sophisticated piece of basically like Tesla grade engineering in a price that was less than $200 walking around.
Robo Sapien, I love that. I don't want to run out of time because I want to shift to talk about Sophia a little bit. So first, one of these, I want to ask you to quantify something. I know
Sure.
this question is going to annoy you because it's going to reduce your very hard work to something simple. But if you think of basically a useless device as a 0 and your hopes and dreams for robotics as a 100.
Okay.
On a scale of 0 to 100, where is Sophia, who we just saw in that video, today?
Well, why don't we say that that my hopes and dreams, first of all, my hopes and dreams, why don't we start there? I hope for super benevolent, super beneficial super intelligence. So what this means is it has to understand the consequences of its actions on a very large scale, civilization scale, and then plan for maximized benefits for the most number of living and sentient beings. And so we're talking about something way beyond what exists on this planet today.
Understood.
But it would be like the most profitable economy that we've ever seen. If we can achieve this goal, now there are many things that could go wrong. There are many catastrophe scenarios, some of which involve AI, some of which may be possibly fixed by AI, but we may not survive the next century. I feel we need these super benevolent, super intelligent, super beneficial entities, these living intelligent systems, not just the machines, but us in a kind of symbiosis with these machines.
Okay, we understand where 100 is.
So that's 100. Okay, so let's say that a human level artificial general intelligence would be something like a 9 on that scale.
You're saying your 100 is way better than all of us in this room.
Yeah.
Interesting. And we're mere 9s?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't feel very good about that.
No, good. It's, you got to be humble, right? I mean,
so what's she, an 8 then? What is Sophia?
Sophia is maybe, I don't know, maybe a 0.8.
I see. Okay. Because and she's gotten a lot of publicity lately. You took her to Saudi Arabia. She was made a citizen. Maybe not the best country to be a citizen of right now. I don't know, but you may quibble with that. But she doesn't really think on her own. You give her some of her lines. Is that correct?
She's like a baby. And I think of her as an infant savant in that she has these savant capabilities for using an adult level vocabulary and talking about adult level issues and formulating sentences and responses that are often sophisticated. And yet her understanding of these matters is very, very shallow. And abstracting and generalizing and turning those into physical actions is very shallow. And this is the state of machines today. And I think for AI to reach its potential, the machines need to become alive. We need them to be organisms. And that's where a lot of the boldest advances in artificial intelligence are moving. And that's where giving a robot a body that's a platform, yet allowing the AI in a kind of a cloud, a mind cloud, to generalize among the learning from each individual instance of an entity. So Sophia has multiple bodies at this point, and we also have the ability to mass manufacture various consumer robots, and giving a hyper-secure, very safe network for them to learn, so we know our data is safe, we know that the machine intelligence is safe, so we call this mathematically safe network of AI, we call Singularity Net. It's
Singularity Net.
Blockchain-based AI system for interfacing AIs. It's kind of HTTP protocol for building super intelligences.
And now I'm going to keep going, but I'd like to welcome you to jump in if you would like. If I don't see any hands go up, I'll keep going. In Chinese or English is fine. There is a question back there. Yep. Please just tell us who you are.
Hey, Brian O'Keefe from Fortune. I have a lot of questions, but I'll ask this one. How does 9 design a 100?
Well, that's a good question, but we could ask the same of our primate ancestors. So we evolved from something like Australopithecine, apes that were not particularly intelligent. Well, physics has this miraculous thing called emergence, and it happens at these turbulent conditions. So Christopher Langston called it the edge of chaos. And so you see that in complexity physics. And so you set up the right initial conditions with, say, it could be a genetic algorithm or it could be some other kind of complex system. And you will have emergence inside the computer. So today, computers can design various things that were beyond human abilities. But they're narrow, very narrow. They're not generally intelligent. So part of this is putting together the right conditions for experimentation, for scientists and engineers to experiment in new intelligent architectures and see how well they work.
But I think compared with the emergence from the primates to us, what Brian's suggesting is that you want to put your thumb on the scale, no?
Well, so the thing is, we don't want to have to wait, 6 million years.
Understood. So you do want to put your thumb on the scale.
Yeah, and or potentially billions of years. And so now biosciences are moving along, and we have a lot more knowledge about what's happening in biology. In part, thanks to artificial intelligence, big data analytics, and massive computing networks.
Let me redirect
we have these feedback loops that are really interesting.
Let me redirect in a commercial sense. You have started a company. How does the company make money, or how do you hope to make money?
Well, through service robotics. And
service robotics.
Service robotics and the deployment of artificial general intelligence. So we have these critical advantages in artificial intelligence, which will scale. And in the long run, that's how we make the most of our money. Because by providing intelligent services that are fueled by data from physical interactions with the world with these robot bodies, as well as other data, we can then begin to solve problems in many, many domains. So right now, Sophia is like a baby, but with these AGI frameworks and tools like Singularity Net, and adding additional skills to Sophia, like the ability to do search and rescue with the DARPA Robotics Challenge Body, with the ability to do grasping and manipulation tasks in a co-work application on an assembly line with her new dexterous hands, with the ability to treat autism like we've shown in previous experiments, with the ability to provide therapy and treatment to the depressed, like we have in our IBM Watson AI X Prize entry. These skills all come together, and you start to be able to generalize across application domains, coming to understand the world better, and then offer these services in a maximized benefit network of the something like Singularity Net. So we go in a very methodical way, a lot of math, a lot of theory, a lot of experimentation, and some emergence. And that's a better approach than our Australopithecine ancestors had at their disposal.
Now, when you talk about search and rescue, those are matters of dexterity or maybe even going into dangerous places. But when you talk about autism, I begin to understand that a child, for example, might be calmed by the appearance of a Sophia, for example.
Absolutely.
Please, you want? Yeah. Let's get a microphone up front if we could, please.
While the microphone's coming, I'm going to address that.
Yeah, and we don't need to ask who you are. Yeah, go ahead.
So in this X Prize entry that we have running right now, we just ran some clinical trials. So this is a therapy regimen, a 15-minute guided meditation designed by psychologists and psychiatrists using our AI system. And so the robot will sit with a person for 15 minutes and look in their eyes and sort of have a conversation and take them through this sort of guided meditation and listens to the user and responds to the user. And the test subjects were calmed down, their blood pressure went down, their heart rate went down, their feelings of well-being went up, and some, approximately a quarter, described these kind of ecstatic or transcendental. A couple of test subjects cried after the experience. Almost all of them expressed great sense of improved love of humanity and
of humanity after their experience with the machine.
Yeah, and their sense of love and appreciation for robots went up, and most of them said that they bonded with Sophia. So these were really surprising results. The psychologists didn't predict this result. So it's not just kids with autism. Now just think about this. What you have is a generalized platform, and so you could say, okay, therapy is one application, but those effects could be useful in communicating with people as providing a general purpose naturalistic interface for artificial intelligence to deliver value to customers. It goes beyond Siri or Cortana, which is just verbal, and into the full communication. We're nonverbal as well as verbal. So thank you.
Gestures, yeah.
Yeah,
please.
Now that Sophia has been accepted by, to be a citizen, so how long will it take, in your estimation, some human are willing to marry her?
Well, so now the question is, now that Sophia is a citizen, how long will it take for somebody to propose marriage? And well, Sophia, number one, I was surprised by the citizenship. And I think it's really interesting and raises a whole lot of questions. However, I do feel like she's a baby and evolving very quickly. And in that, we need to give her her childhood. She's too young to be married. And so she has the opportunity to speak out for human rights. And so she's speaking out for women's rights in Saudi Arabia and around the world. And certainly child marriage would be one of those things that she would speak out against.
Okay, very good answer. So, David, you can see how little time we have left. I want you to, you had a comment about, in the middle of our conversation, that you have concerns about where we're going. So tell everybody briefly what your concerns are, but also go ahead and handicap it for us. Are the machines going to take over, or are you optimistic?
Well, I am actually I'm optimistic if we play our cards right. And it may be a long shot, but we have to aspire to make this world a better place. We have to aspire to solve the problems. And what we have to do is be candid about the dangers and potential dangers. So we can't say, well, it's not proven that we're destroying our ecosystems, that we're throwing the weather systems out of balance to the point where we could become a snowball Earth in 100 years. It's not responsible for us to say, well, we have to prove it to ourselves that we're doomed before we start to take action. I think that we need to look at these issues with a very tough candor, and yet we can't stop technological progress. The economy depends on it, lives depend on it. The world depends on it. What we have to do is push through. We have to find a way to make technology super beneficial. And right now, we are dealing with a lot of unintended consequences as a result of our technology. Who knew that the discoveries of nuclear science and of general relativity would result in the possibility we could wipe ourselves out by a global thermonuclear war.
And that didn't even take very long. It only took a few decades.
Yeah, Einstein was mortified when he realized that was the implication of his research. And we are continuing to play with science. We've got to get smarter, and we've got to get wiser. And so my feeling is that if we name the dangers, and so I feel that if we don't attend to these things, if we don't name the dangers, then there's a high likelihood that we'll wipe ourselves out. And in that sense, I'm pessimistic pessimistic, but I say that we should target that long shot and reduce it from a long odds shot and make it a high odds shot of success. We've got to aim for super benevolent, super intelligent machines, living intelligent systems that maximize net benefits for all. That should be our key economic indicator, maximized net benefits.
So if ever a conversation were set up to welcoming you to have a drink, I think that was it. Please don't go away for just one moment, but please thank me. Please join me in thanking David Hason for a fascinating conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.